We've been working on it. Let's go finish our Christmas quilt. But first, always remember to share this so it will save to your profile and you can find it when you're looking for it again later. We're still working on our Christmas quilt. We've sewn all of our blocks. Now how do we put them together? So let's talk about it. Lots of questions on how to do sashing, and I'm going to show you how I teach my students because I've never had any luck sewing 6 blocks together and 6 blocks together and putting one strip of sashing between it and it actually lining up. I have an offset situation. So instead of doing one strip, I always teach my students to do one on each block. So I've sewn one to the bottom of this reindeer. My piece is 3 inches wide by 12 inches long because that's the length of my block. And then I have another 3 by 12 piece that's gonna go on one side. I'll have to look and see which side. And then, but what do I do in this corner, right? Well, I wanna put these cute little corner pieces. I'm going to sew my 3 by 3 inch square to my 3 by 12 inch strip. I'm gonna place them pretty side to pretty side. I'm gonna line it up, doesn't matter which end you put it on unless your fabric is directional. And I'm gonna sew right here. I'm gonna sew this with a straight stitch, a 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when I start and when I stop because my grandma said so. The first thing I did was place my strip pretty side to pretty side, sewed it on. Opened it up, I've now sewn this together. I'm gonna lay this pretty side down and sew right here. I only teach my students to sew 2 sides. Doesn't matter which 2 sides, just always the same 2 sides on each block because then when you put them together, the sides that you've sewn on the next block make the rest of the sides for that block. And then when you get finished, you'll have some outside pieces that need a border, but you'll be able to do that pretty easily. All right, now this one we have sewn the bottom and the left side. Now let's add it to our quilt. I've sewn the rest of my blocks and here is my bottom row and this is where the reindeer goes. So I'm gonna take him. Do you see how I only sewed 2 sides? I sewed here and here on this letter and then I sewed here and here on our reindeer. But when I put it together, it has a strip between each block. That's why I say only to do 2 sides. But you can do all 4 sides if you want strips all the way around. It's your quilt, do it how you want it. Okay, I'm gonna put this together, matching up my seams, pretty side to pretty side. I'm gonna sew with a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam. I'm gonna get the 1/4 inch seam by following the edge of my fabric with the edge of my presser foot. I'm gonna back stitch when I start and when I stop because my grandma said so. Now, I didn't iron in between any of those steps. Sometimes I do, most of the time I don't, but y'all can iron in between them if you want to. I have ironed the pieces that I've already sewn together, and I will go back and iron this after I sew it to the bottom of our quilt. So here's the rest of our quilt. Let's find the bottom of it, and we're gonna sew the bottom row of our quilt on. Now, do you see this? We didn't have a border at the top, but this row above us, these blocks have a border at the bottom. So when we put it together, our block's gonna have a border. So I'm gonna lay this pretty side to pretty side. I'm gonna sew all the way down. I want you to make sure your seams match. I don't care what you have to do. Pinch them, pleat them, pull them. Nobody's gonna notice one little spot that's pinched, pleated, or pulled, but they are gonna notice when you get to the bottom of your quilt and one block is that much longer than the others. It doesn't get any better. If every seam doesn't match, the next seam you get to is just worse. So make sure your seams match. Sew it with a 1/4 inch seam, straight stitching from one end to the other, and then we'll go iron it. Now our quilt top is finished. So if you wanted to make this quilt top or any quilt top actually larger, just add a border around it or a couple of borders, and you can change the sizes of them to give it some dimension and make it look like it always was supposed to be there. Or you can take the strips off of the outside edge to make it a little bit smaller if you wanted something a little smaller for whatever you're using it for. But this size is perfect. Let me show you. Dun dun dun! Isn't it so cute? And if you're concerned at all, I made you a map. It is not a pattern. I have not written a pattern for this quilt, but I did make a map showing you that every quilt block is 12 inches. The center quilt block is 24 by 24. And it gives you the dimensions of every strip and every square, so you have a guide to go by. This is included in the template set that's available at hometownquiltcompany.com, and I can't wait to see the ones that you make. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.